A couple of weeks ago, I was always talking about this. I wanted to start my first interview with a longtime friend of mine. It's like we've been friends probably since what, like '96?
Yeah, late '90s.
Since late '96. We're both from the West Coast, and I feel like dancers like himself need to be recognized. So, I feel like a lot of times in our culture, we kind of forget about like our pioneers, our underground pioneers. He's definitely an underground pioneer. I can vouch for that myself. He's been dancing as long as me, and that says a lot because everybody knows how long I've been dancing. Or at least you should understand how long I've been dancing. So I want to ask you, like, honestly though, I know a lot of people always a lot of people admire Easy Rock though. In the beginning, from my understanding though, this is one of the first guys that was always hanging out with Easy Rock. So. Can you give us like a little bit of history? Like, when did you first see Easy Rock?
Sure thing. With Easy Rock, we both lived in the same town.
Okay.
In Buena Park. So we came across each other. We used to go to this place called La Mirada Swap Meet to go buy dead stock sneakers.
No.
Back before Puma made its reemergence in popularity. I'm talking about 1990, 91.
Yeah.
Okay. So we used to go to swap meet to go get all the old school kicks. Like I said, before they became popular again, before the throwback thing. Like you get in 1990, 89, 90, 91, if you're rocking Pumas, you're gonna get clowned. Because everybody was into the new shit, like
right.
the Jordans, the LA Gears, or whatever. So anyhow, I had a vague memory of Easy Rock from the 80s.
Okay.
But
also, this was in the 80s, not the 90s?
No. We lived in the same town, Buena Park. So Easy Rock was already breaking in the 80s.
True.
Okay? So we were in the same town. So he was like, I have vague memories of him, but never officially met him in the 80s.
Okay.
It wasn't until 1990 where I met him as an artist, because he was into like lowrider culture. He's an amazing artist. He was airbrushing t-shirts. So me and my crew was at the La Mirada Swap Meet, and we're looking through his book. And I seen that he was bombing up jackets.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. So we connected, started talking about hip hop art. And I was like, yo, he was telling us that he used to break and all this. I was like, yo, you gotta like come bug out with us. So he got down with us, started practicing with my crew, which at the time was Hip Hop Function. So Easy Rock had a brief stint in my crew, like in 1990, 91, 92.
Oh, he was in the crew, okay.
Yeah. So he was doing shows with us and hanging out. So in a sense, he was part of like, my crew was mostly freestyle dancers. But when we saw him, we were like, oh shit, flares, flips, he had style and shit, you know what I'm saying? So we recruited him, hanging out with us, and ever since then he's been a long time brother. So, but in 92, that's when that West Coast Rocksteady crew thing started happening out of the hip hop shop. So that's when he became Easy Rock again,
I remember that, bro.
So that was just a little quick backstory to my relationship with Easy Rock. And then of course I was there throughout all his journey through the reemergence, the revival of breaking.
Right.
Because it had already happened in like the early 80s, 83, 84, 85. But then people like him had another shot at bringing it back. And like he did it heavy.
I remember that.
He influenced the whole world. But he was in my crew a little bit before he was in Rocksteady crew.
Ooh.
So it was just a cool, fun time, you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, that's a background of Easy Rock.
To be truly honest, like I've never even heard this story. So for me, I've done my research forever, and that's some new information to me as well. And because I've always heard Easy Rock though. Like the first time I seen Easy Rock, it was like the hip hop shop though, bro. So I'm walking down Melrose, and I'm walking down the street and I hear this music, like this boom, boom. And I walk in and I see Hex, Markski, and I see Easy Rock with a t-shirt that said West Coast Rocksteady Crew with the 3 members.
Right.
And in the back he had like all the cities and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I seen Easy Rock. If you never heard of Easy Rock, he's actually he's a West Coast pioneer to us. He's legendary. Actually, he's still around.
Yeah, Easy Rock was someone that could not be ignored.
Right.
In the early 90s, I was watching Easy Rock smack whole crews by himself. I'm not even kidding. Like, we were right there.
Too. Remember Set Free?
Well, me and Easy Rock used to go to clubs, events, and do other things aside from B-boy events. We used to go everywhere, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, he couldn't be ignored, and that's why his ripple effect impacted the whole world.
Right, right.
So, word up.
Okay. So yeah, so now we had the Easy Rock story going. Let's talk about like your background though, bro. It's like, I know you know Divine Styler?
Oh yeah.
Divine Styler is a legendary rapper from the East Coast, right?
Right. Well, this is the connection with Divine Styler is that I was fortunate enough to be around the dopest b-boys and the sickest freestyle dancers out of Southern California. So that was like, I was just blessed to have been friends with a lot of that the real ill dancers out of LA and Southern California. So Divine's an old friend, more than anything, he's just a friend, but he was very influential in the style of dancing that I do, which I believe Divine Styler's scheme team was the foundation of LA freestyle dance.
I'm gonna agree to that too as well, because when I was a kid, I remember hearing about the scheme team.
Right.
I remember hearing about the Soul Brothers that used to dance with Def Jeff.
And this is before...
And the Far Side.
This is before the internet. So for you to hear about crews like the scheme team, like, it was all word of mouth. So it's like, that impacted me all the way in Orange County. And they're from the Valley, so well, Valley, LA. So that style made its way to Orange County. I picked up on it, and luckily, I was fortunate enough to be able to vibe with them, and they're coming to Orange County, hanging out with me in the early 90s, mid 90s, all the way up till recently. We're still, well, not all of us, but you know, the couple of people I stayed in touch with from that era, you know, they still had a lasting impression on my style. Right. So my style was a combination, I used to say, of all my influences, which is funk, house, hip-hop, golden era hip-hop. So all that combined, it's like breaking. So me being a part of the journey from the early 80s all the way till now, eventually somewhere in the late 80s and early 90s, I found my style, which I said was freestyle. Keep this in mind. I was one of the first people to start coining the term freestyler, freestyle dance. Not the first, but I was part of the first generation of dancers in Southern California to go under that style of freestyle dancer, okay? This is before it became an actual segment or an actual category. It's like, we should just say we're freestyle dancers. Why?
Because nobody was saying b-boy.
No, it's like
nobody was saying b-boy.
B-boy wasn't as defined back then. Now it's well defined because now, like, the information is out there and people are defining b-boy so clearly. But in the late 80s, early 90s, everybody was hip-hop and freestyle and housing and just grooving and shit.
Right.
And you know what? There were b-boys. There were people breaking. But long story short, predominantly in the late 80s, early 90s, it was mostly like what they were calling freestyle dancing. At least, or at least here in LA.
These houses, though. I think maybe this is like party crew era too, right?
You know what? Party crew era for me had a couple of different eras because, like, there was party crews in 1985, 86, 87, and then there was the party crews of 1992, 93, 94, 95. So it's like there's always been party crews and backyard parties, but that's a whole nother story. I was a part of that too.
Okay, yeah. So what year? So you've been dancing, you never quit dancing, is that right?
Never stopped, dude.
You never stopped dancing though. So we're talking about like 80, 82?
No, this is how it went down.
Okay.
This is how I tell people. In 1980 was the first time I encountered a DJ. And fortunately, it was my mom's friend's husband, who was a funk disco DJ. So I used to see his setup in an apartment. 1980. So me and my little friend, who I was friends with their son, we used to just dance. Not breaking, not popping, not locking. We used to just move and just dance, right? Exactly. Late 82, early 83 is when I first saw popping. And then by 83, everybody was breaking and popping. So at least in Southern California, it was just a big explosion of hip hop.
And then the following year, breaking came out too, right? In 84?
It did.
Breaking came out in 84.
My first influence, as far as like what I first saw, was popping. I first saw popping. And big up to Coco, big Coco, not little Coco, big Coco. I used to see him in Buena Park. One of the first people I saw popping in 1982. Okay, late 82.
El Latino.
Yes. He was actually one of Gerardo's dancers back in the day, Rico Suave. But he was an ill-ass popper. After that, my next influence was this dude named Teddy from Flatbush, Brooklyn. He had a crew called Generation 1 out of Buena Park, California. Generation 1. That was my biggest influence. 1983, 84. So that's where I got my breaking influence. You know? And so you combine all that, and then it's like, that's what eventually made me. The breaking, the popping, the hip hop. And then eventually I just became what I considered a freestyle dancer. Although a lot of people give me the label as B-boy, and I take a lot of honor in that. I'm like, wow, you consider me a B-boy? I think what it is, they recognize the B-boy element.
Right.
Because along the same time, me getting down and just boogieing and housing and party dancing and hip-hopping, I was also getting down with with the B-boys responsible for bringing back breaking.
Dope.
You know, fortunately, it was just basically this. It's like Dino is down in any way, you know, because he's legit. It's like, you know, you're either whack or you're dope. And luckily, everybody was just, you know, nice enough to include me in all their circles and shit. So.
Word. Yo, I know we could go endless on and on about this. Just kind of want to do something short. He goes down as my first interview for my first interview though,
yes.
bro. For Mikey-ice TV, we represent the West Coast, LA.
And before you go, big up to Mikey-ice, yo. We're out here in this fucking blazing hot sun. B-Boy Summit's going on right there, but he's making this happen right now, okay? There's all kinds of action, but he knows how important it is to document some of the people that seem to fall under the cracks of history, you know what I'm saying? So I look forward to all the interviews. Big up to this man, much respect. Word up. Sorry to cut you off, I just want to make sure I said that.
Thank you, peace and God bless, and we got more coming. Holla. Thank you. Oh, that's